Hello and thank you for joining me. So I have worked with some fabulous companies over the last few weeks and many of them seem to be quite overwhelmed, constantly managing the day-to-day stuff being thrown at them, seemingly on a kind of hamster wheel, moving at speed but not necessarily getting anywhere fast. On a number of the occasions, I therefore found myself talking about Stephen Covey's three circles: the circle of concern, circle of influence and the circle of control. The exercise is a really simple one, like a lot of good exercises are, but it's really powerful. When I do it, I start by drawing the three circles inside each other, naming them concern, influence and control. Then I simply divide everything in my mind into those categories: the things that are totally out of my control, the things that I have some influence over, and those that I have control of. I typically find that when I think about things more deeply, I start moving things about. As well, something may have seemed outside of my control, my reaction to it is totally in my control, and maybe therefore reframing it was all I needed. Or I saw that whilst I cannot influence something, I know someone that could influence it, so that becomes something I can influence myself too. I think it's simply part of the human condition that we get too easily stuck in the stuff we cannot control, other people or organisations or outside factors becoming a barrier. It's their fault. This is not being done to me. It's not fair. Yet devoting energy to this stuff is draining and doesn't move us forward. Whereas if you start to focus on the things you can control, the things you can influence, your behaviours, your habits, your actions, your reactions, then your ability to influence others around you grows. This in turn extends your circle of influence, and the more effort you spend on the things that you can influence, whether directly or indirectly through others, the more proactive you are, the more you will find that your circle of influence increases. Whereas the more reactive you are to the things outside your control, the more likely that circle of influence is going to shrink. As always, when I do the exercise myself of this nature, I recognise that whilst there's no doubt things that are going on around me that I have no control over, the way I respond and react to every circumstance I find myself in is totally in my control. After all, what I think, the narratives I tell myself determine what I say and do, my actions, which in turn determines my outcomes. But I know that these blockages and barriers will keep coming at me, so I have to keep working at it and checking myself too. As Stephen Covey himself said, I'm not the product of my circumstances, I am the product of my decisions. Or as Michael Hines or Jessica Hines, who put it in their book, Learn to Balance Your Life, the task is not to control the wind, but to direct the movements of the ship so that it stays on course. Have a lovely weekend. Thank you for listening.